Hello there. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Knocks to Nuggets. My name is Oluwayomi Ute, and it's such a joy to come your way this very beautiful morning. And like I will always say, and I can't get tired of saying it, thank God for the gift of life. It's because we are alive that we can be on air and you can also be there watching. Thank you to every single person joining me live. I do not take it for granted at all. Thank you for the share of your time. Like I always say, please like the video, share it, let somebody out there know that there is something called Knocks to Nugget. Let's build this community together. And for those of you who are saying, I'm new, I'm just joining this, I'm just stumbling on this channel, just check the YouTube link, the YouTube page. There's so much information that will add value to you. So much information. Every time I sit back and I just go through our previous episodes, I'm like, wow, so much that God has deposited through us on this channel. And I'm sure they're evergreen, ever fresh. They will always add value to you. Today, my guest is not yet in the studio. I'm trusting God he joins us before my time is up. If he joins up, we add him on. If he doesn't, we just have fun and know that he owes us 2 more episodes. But we are still on parenting. And for the last 2 weeks, we had Dr. Fawole talk to us about parenting. And she said something that keeps resonating in my head, that life is evolving. Nothing new under the sun. The things that we are shouting about today are just escalated. They have been there from time immemorial at different levels. We are complaining of distraction now. There's always been distraction, only that at different levels. Different things are distracting. When we were younger, it wasn't TV because we didn't have 24-hour television. So our distraction was not TV. It wasn't tablet, it wasn't phones. There was nothing like that. It wasn't internet. There was nothing like that. But were there distractions? Yes, there were. Plenty. Quite a number. However, the tide has changed. It has moved from what distracted us to what is distracting this generation. And trust me, if Christ tarries another 50 years, it will have changed again. But the bottom line is still distraction. So let's not get caught up and think, oh, eyes have not seen this before. No, there's really nothing new under the sun. So first thing about parenting, be secure in yourself and tell yourself you can do it. You might not be parenting your own biological child. Yeah. You might not be parenting directly somebody who is living with you, but there's somebody you are influencing. There's somebody out there looking up to you. There's somebody who is trying to take a cue from you. They might never even walk up to you, but your life is telling a story to somebody out there, and we should be conscious of that. She talked about early emotional childhood trauma that a lot of children face. Some of us faced it, but we never gave it a name. A good number of us, but we never gave it a name. What children are calling abuse today, we went through them, but we didn't call it abuse. Maybe we had another name for it, but we didn't really call it abuse. But today, with the level of awareness, knowledge has increased, everything has been named. But one thing we owe this next generation is to model the right relationship. We owe them. It's better you empower a child by your lifestyle, by knowledge, by teaching, than trying to enforce something into them. And she said something that, look, it's a new normal. Every one of us have got to learn to embrace it. Embrace the new normal. Don't see it as something to run away from or something to be scared about. Just the same way we have moved from typewriting to computing, things have evolved. But all you need to do is embrace it. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to pretend that it does not exist. Don't put your head in the sand like an ostrich and say, no, nothing is happening. A lot is happening. Wake up to that reality. And for every child God has brought your way, there's something unique about that child. Discover it. No two children are the same, not even Siamese twins. The moment they are separated and they can live independently of themselves, they will do different things. So understand that no children are the same. So let's stop comparing. Yomi, why are you doing this? Can't you see what Yemi is doing? Yomi is not Yemi, even though the names look similar and they might even be called the same way, but they are not the same. Yomi is Yomi, Yemi is Yemi. Let them be. That child you are comparing your own child with, if the mother tells you his or her downside, you won't want to touch that child. Oh, that child is scoring all A's in school. And so, look, if you put 20 children in this class and they are all equally brilliant, one person must come first. That's the truth. Put all of them, measure their IQ. They're all above average, but they're all outstanding IQs. Put them in the same room. Somebody must come first. All 20 children cannot come first. It might be 0.001, doesn't matter. Maybe 0.000001, it doesn't matter. Somebody must still come first. Somebody must come second. So stop comparing your children with other children. The moment your children feel you are comparing them, you are sowing seeds of inferiority into them. They keep thinking somebody is better than them. They keep thinking they're not good enough. They're not strong enough. You don't like them. You prefer so and so person to them. And they keep feeling put down. No. Celebrate that child. Celebrate their uniqueness. And how do you discover their uniqueness if you don't learn to listen? Listen to your child. Sometimes just sit down, put the phone aside, put the book aside, switch on the TV and say, let's talk. This child is just two. What will he say? Listen. Can he talk? He wants your attention. The child is just three. What will the child say? Listen. In listening, you pick up who their friends are. In listening, you will know if that child is being abused or not. In listening, you know if that child is being bullied or not. Bullying is not until one monster appears and says, I'm a bully. No. Bullying starts from the little things. Oh, it's time to go for lunch break. And why will you go before? My friend, go back until I'm finished eating, don't come. That's bullying. But if you're just that parent that will not take time to listen, the child will just sit down, quietly soak it in until the child cannot raise up his or her head again. If you let the child talk to you freely, you hear, mommy, guess what? During lunch break today, one boy said I cannot go on break until he has finished eating. Really? Why did the child say so? Then you investigate. Don't run to school and say, hey, teacher, somebody is doing this to my child. No, the child will not talk to you again. Get all your facts and subtly find out who this child is, what is going on. Talk to the teacher, but not with that high-handed, commanding, frightful tone. No. Find out what's going on. Why is this child doing this? Why is this child? My child said this. Can you please look into it? Those are the things that you want to look at. Those are the things that you want to consider. And it's important, very important to listen to your child. If you don't, you can't get that child in. And the child will just be sitting down and watching you. What else do you need to do? I said it earlier. When you learn to listen, when you learn to chit-chat with them, you know what's happening? You are building relationship with them. And that's so important. You are building a close relationship with them that no matter what happens, they are willing and they are ready to listen to you. You are sowing, you are depositing into the emotional bank that someday, sometime, you can withdraw from it. Every human being has an emotional bank. That's why some people will tell somebody something and they're ready to do it. Somebody else just says, no, I don't have time. What makes the difference? It's not about the task. It's about who is asking them to do it. When you have enough deposits in your child's emotional bank, you can go home and sleep. You are sure that no matter what happens, that child will stay in the path of value that you have built into that child. Develop a relationship with your child. Be their friend. Be their go-to person. Be that one person that they can tell anything. And when they tell you, don't be up in arms. Hey, they tell me, they don't know what to do. As I'm saying this, I recall the story of a child who got pregnant. I was wondering how to tell the mother she's pregnant. My mother will kill me. So my guest is in the house, but let me just finish this story before I bring him on. My mother will kill me. How will I say this to my mother? But finally, she summoned courage. But she's my friend. She says I can tell her anything. Just told the mother, Mom, I have something to tell you. And mother was like, what is it this time? What do you have to tell me? Is it a story? Is it a gist? He says, no, Mommy, it's something more serious. Please sit down. The mother sat down. Said, Mommy, I'm sorry I disappointed you. Said, what did you do? Said, Mommy, I'm so sorry. What are you sorry about? And then finally she said it, I'm pregnant. The woman said in her head, she like had killed herself several times, has boxed those girls severally, had done everything. But she was meant to maintain a cool, quiet man. I was like, pregnant? Wow, what happened? So inside her, she had jumped up, she had jumped down, she had somersaulted, she had done everything, but she just maintained it. And quietly took it all in. So she went to her room and she cried and cried. But to the child, she maintained it cool. Got this grace, the strength to take it all in. Today, the child has had the baby. The child is doing well. The child is back in school. But she could have ruined the life of that child if she had handled it differently. So now I've got to come back in because my guest is in the house. And today we're actually talking about parenting, maximizing the holiday season. Before we go into the holiday season, we're talking a bit more about parenting. And I'm going to ask him some questions about parenting before we talk about maximizing the holiday season. And yes, he's joining me so late and he's going to have a second session that we have agreed. But if he's not careful, we'll have a third as a punishment for joining me late today. My guest is a dynamic speaker, is an author, a clinical psychologist, a life coach, and a spiritual shepherd. He has worked with different individuals, families, and organizations as a family life therapist for a decade and a conference speaker for more than a decade, as a clinical psychologist for almost a decade, and as a prolific writer for well over a decade. He's a graduate of psychology, has a master's degree in clinical psychology. His love for personal development has endeared him to attend several other informal trainings. He is in the house as a principal consultant of Life Affairs International. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to bring on stage Miracle Ihuoma. Hey, finally.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's good to be here. So sorry I joined in late. So sorry.
Not a problem. Don't worry. There's a penalty for joining in late. Maybe a third session will be the price to pay. But so I had just started off talking about parenting, and I'm just going to ask you this question before we go into the holiday season. What is different in parenting today and in the last 30 something, 40 years?
Mm, yeah, that's a very, very interesting question. And there's a lot that is different actually. A lot that is different. Quite a lot that is different. And we could look at the advent of social media. We could look at the um, change and continuous progress in technology, right? And how that has impacted parenting. There are different generations, like we know. There is the baby boomers, which are those who are born between 1946 and 1964. There is the Gen X, which is born between 1965 and 1980. There's a Gen Y, which is a millennial, where I fall under, which is born between 1981 and 1996. There is the Gen Z, which is born between 1997 and 2010. And there's a generation Alpha, which is born between 2011 and 8. And for each of these generation, there are certain things that characterizes that era. And one of the things as a parent who might be listening to this, you're most likely, because if your child, for instance, is born in during the millennial or is a baby boomer or Gen X, that child is most likely out of the house. So it means
Yes.
that you are caught up between the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha. If you're a parent listening to me right now, you're a parent
Mhm.
who a Gen Z child or a Generation Alpha. And one of the things that cuts across these two generations is the fact that they were born into a digitalized environment, into a
Mm.
digitalized environment. Right now, people they are more expressive in nature because of that. So someone who might not be able to talk to you in person before can now go on social media to express themselves. So they have a short attention span because one of the things a lot of screen time does is it reduces your attention span, and because of that, a lot of them have short attention span. So if you are telling them, okay, come and listen to this or watch this for 2 hours, no, they are not very interested. That's why short videos and all of that is what is really what trips them. Things like TikTok, 5 minutes videos that is entertaining is what catches their fancy, and that's what they are really interested in. They don't have the patience that the older generation used to have. So you could have in the older generation, millennials, baby boomers, Gen X, they could work in a place for 20 years, 30 years. A Gen Z or Generation Alpha will work in a place for 2, 3 years, and they're looking for the next option. Because one of the things that characterizes this generation is the word options. They have a lot of options, right? They are not boxed into a particular mode or choice. They have a lot of options. And I'll give you a practical example. So while I was growing up as a millennial, it was very difficult for me to watch pornography, even if I wanted to. Right, it was difficult, right, for me to watch pornography. In fact, to watch pornography, there's a certain conditions that has to be met. Number one is that you must be born into a middle class family, because it took a middle class family to have a TV and to have a DVD. Some people, many, in fact, we didn't have TV for a long time. When we had black and white TV, but we could not even afford DVD. So you needed to have a TV, you needed to have DVD, right? And then you also needed to be able to afford to buy the pornographic cassette. And then you also needed to also pray and maybe fast that while you are watching the pornography, NEPA does not strike. Because if power is actually disrupted, it means that the cassette will be stuck in the DVD, and if your parents come back and power is restored, they will automatically see what's going on. So it was really difficult to watch pornography while I was growing up. But right now, it is not that difficult. All a teenager, a child needs is access to a smartphone. And with one click, they have access to 1 million pornographic content. So they have options. So it is easy. So they need to exercise more self-control, because then we didn't need much of self-control because your options were limited. But now you need to exercise more self-control because the options are limitless.
Mm.
So it then means that one of the things that must be different in today's parenting is we as parents must be empathetic, knowing that the generations and the times are different. A lot is staring this generation in the face that did not stare us in the face. So we need to become more empathetic in the way that we parent. We need to become more strategic as well, because if you leave your parenting to chance, you have no chance. If you leave your
Mm.
parenting, you have no chance of raising the kind of children you want to raise. Because right now, a lot is happening, a lot is going on. So there's a lot more peer pressure now than before. Social media has become a brew of envy. So while I was growing up, for instance, when we were leaving school, if you were leaving school, you knew that there was little or no chance of ever seeing your classmates, right? Except you guys go to the same university or you stay in the same area and all of that. That option was very slim. But right now, when people are finishing school, you know that you will still see them. You are not missing them. Nobody's even crying again in benedictory service, because you know you will still see them. You might not see them physically, but you will see them on social media. And when you see them on social media, you will see that this one has gained admission before you. Oh, that gets it complex, because now you begin to feel like, why is it not me? Why have I not gained admission? You will see that this one got married and yet you are not married. You will see that this one bought a car. You will see this one bought a new shoe. All of that will stare you in the face. That's part of what parenting has to deal with in this age and time. So it is very important that we understand that parenting has a different set of rules now than it used to do, as a result, if not for anything, as a result of the advent of social media and the progress of technology.
Hmm. Wow, that's a lot. And that's at sometimes when I listen to things like this, there's a bit of fear in the air because you're wondering, how do you conquer this? And something you said, and I was trying to write it again, is that if you leave parenting to chance, you stand no chance. So every parent must be strategic, must be empathetic to the plight of children today, and you must be strategic in how to raise these children. Now, before we come into the holiday season, now let me enter it this way. Many parents, I dare say most, are excited to see their children go to school for only one major reason. They have this window of breather. The child goes to school from 8, comes back at 5 or even 5:30 or 6, and you can be you. You can live your life. If you are working from home, you can work from home. You can concentrate, particularly when they're not in the boarding house, when they're home, primary school, early secondary school. It's like even on Sundays, parents are excited to go to church and dump those children with the children teachers so they can at least breathe. And then holiday is coming. And holiday, that means this child is going to be home morning till night to morning till night to morning till night. And a lot of parents are already wondering, what will I do with these children? Okay, I go to work. When I'm at work, what are they doing? And you brought it so close home. They have their phones. Once they have the smartphone, they can do anything. In fact, one of my friends had a story. She puts control on her internet so that at certain pages her child cannot go to. There are certain links they cannot click successfully. And then a
Yeah.
neighbor's child came visiting, about the same age with her own son, and disabled the control.
Wow.
And while she was still thinking, I have controls in place, she came home and saw her child on a page and was like, how did you get here? Said, oh, so and so person came home and helped me get there. By the time she checked, the whole thing had been disabled. And she was like, how did this child know to do it? Same age with her son. So all of those are in the air as we approach the holiday season. What will be your counsel to parents at this time?
Yeah. So education, education, education. What do I mean by that? Parents must be deliberate about educating their children about things. More, more than placing rules and regulations. You must be interested about
Mm,
building a relationship and educating them from that standpoint. Because rules without relationship will lead to rebellion. So you
mm,
want to make sure that you build a rapport and a relationship with your child so that they can trust you with things, right? Nothing in the presence of rapport, anything is possible. In the presence of rapport, anything is possible. When you have a rapport and a good relationship with your child, when you've built a relationship with your child, you can be sure that they will come with you. They will come to you with anything. They will tell you the
mm,
challenges they will share certain things with you, and you can guide them and you can properly educate them. And of course, you must also make sure that you are deliberate about the things your children are learning and how they are being educated about certain things. So you must not leave anything to chance. So for instance, the issue of sexuality education, you can't be assuming that okay, they know what is going on or they know the right thing to do. Yes, they know what is going on, but they might not know what's happening. So you need to, as much as possible, educate them appropriately. Whatever it is you want them to know, you must never leave it to assumption. You must educate them. That's why every family must have an educational system, right? It is very important that you create an educational system in your own family that is different from what they are being taught in school. What do I mean by that? The educational system must be informed by the family vision. So when you know this is where we are going as a family, then you create an educational system that would help your children get to that particular destination or become who you want them to be. So if, for instance, you want your children to be godly, let's use that, because many parents, that's what they would say. You want your children to be godly. So you want to ask the question, what is it you want to be teaching your children every day that would help them become godly? You can't say, oh, they're teaching them in school or they're teaching them in church. No, you have to create your own educational system. If you said you want your children to be stars, what do you want to be teaching stars, for instance, that would help them become that star? This education, this holiday period is an opportunity to imbibe that curriculum by teaching them those things. For instance, I created a curriculum one time, which is we called it Global Heroes. What that curriculum does was to study one country of the world, one developed country of the world, per week, and then share from that country what we can learn from the country, the things we need to avoid and things like that. That's an educational system that can be imbibed. So, okay, let's study one particular country per week, right? Or let's study this particular subject. It can be sexuality education. It can be, bullying. It can just be anything at all. It can be even around the needs of your particular child. So, if, for instance, you realize that, okay, my child is somebody who doesn't pay attention to details at all. My child is somebody who is not cool, calm, and collected, or is somebody who doesn't really pay attention to the environment and is not maybe very clean, very neat and tidy. You can create a curriculum around that. Yeah, that would bypass their conscious resistance and be able to teach them something like that once every week. You can do that curriculum just like we have series, in movies and even in churches. You can have a series for your children. So once a week, we are going to learn this, for the next 2 months. That is how you want to maximize the holiday season. You don't want to allow this time to go to waste, right? Every season, every time you have the opportunity to spend with your children, you don't want to allow it go to waste. You want to maximize it because an opportunity to implant and to impute something in them that will last a lifetime.
Hmm. I hear you. I hear you say educate. I hear you say develop curriculum. I hear you say family values. And we'll wrap up on this and we'll continue next week because it's a whole lot to talk about here. But let's start on the one of family values. How do you actually develop family values with children that are maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? How do you have family values? How do you develop the family values? We could probably land on that and next we could not take it further. But really, it talks about family values, develop curriculum around family values. Exactly. Some of us grew up where there were nobody sat down and said family values. We just knew that this
Mm,
is how it is in our family. This is what you cannot do this and my father will not kill you. We just knew. But
mm.
now you are saying be intentional, be strategic. How do you put up a family value that everybody can work with?
Okay, beautiful. So family values are actually developed from family vision. Family values are developed from family vision. So you have a vision for the family. For example, you say um, we are a people of or we are a team of friends who have decided to be the best that we can and help other families do the same or something like that, whatever it is your family vision is. You now want to ask yourself, what sets of characteristics or behavioral patterns that would help me or help us achieve this vision? That's how you create your family values. So you now say, okay, number one, for us to be able to be the best that we can, we need a value like discipline. For us to be able to be the best that we can, we need a value like personal development. Because if you want to be the best, you have to keep developing yourself so that you can stand out among other people. For us to be the best that we can, we will need maybe responsibility because we need to take responsibility for ourselves and everybody around us. Now that's how you now come up with the family values. It doesn't matter how old your children are. It's something you even do with your spouse in the initial stage, right? So when your children now begin to grow, you begin to teach them about these values. So in fact, your curriculum, your educational system to be created around those values. To say, okay, you begin to teach them what responsibility is. You begin to teach them what accountability is. You begin to teach them what discipline is. You begin to teach them what personal development is. You begin to imbibe, apart from even teaching them that, you begin to also imbibe activities, practices in the family that actually elicit those values. For instance, you can say in this family we'll read one book per week, or we'll discuss one book per month. Now that is eliciting the value of personal development. You have one, it has bypassed their conscious resistance, but you're instilling the value of personal development in the children. So that is how you can instill these activities within family activities that help to promote that. Right? If for instance a value is friendship, you can say, okay, once a week we would have open day where everybody can just say their mind. Nobody is permitted to get angry. Once this is done, you are creating the value of friendship within the home without even saying friendship. Now, these are practices that you can imbibe in the family to elicit the values that you have. So that's how to create family values. In spite of the age of your children, you can begin to teach them, according to their age. So make it as age appropriate as possible, and as they grow, you make it a bit more sophisticated and all of that, so they are able to instill these values completely. So that's how you teach family values.
Wow. Miracle, we'll stop here today. But when you were talking, I'm just playing it in my head. And I'm sure a parent out there is saying, all of this with my schedule, do you realize I go to work? Do you realize sometimes I come home at 10 p.m.? How do I do all of this? So we're going to take it on from there next week. Yes, inculcate family values. Talk about family vision, family values, and inculcating it. In our world today, as realistically as possible, how do we go about achieving this? That is what we'll pick up from next week by the grace of God. So, Miracle, thank you so much for today. We'll take off from here next week. And I'm not sure there will not be a part 3 because you came in late today. But thank you so much. The nuggets you have shared today are incredible. I'm taking my notes, and I believe that all our viewers are also taking their notes. And like I always tell people, please share this. Let everybody know there are nuggets that everyone needs. It's not for a particular set of people. Miracle, till I see you next week. Thank you so much for coming. Enjoy the rest of the week.
All right, you too, man.
Wow, 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 wow. That's a whole lot coming from Miracle. I mean, there's so much to learn. And it's like us parents need to go back to school. No matter the age of your child, even if you're already a grandparent, you need it. Because as a grandma, as a grandpa, you support your children by bringing in these values. When they were growing up, you were not conscious about stating family vision, family values. Now you have the opportunity to show them what you didn't do consciously. Be that grandma, be that grandpa that can teach and reteach these core principles. Parenting, there's no school of parenting. We all stumble into it somehow. But you know what? We can intentionally structure it no matter the age of the children and bring them to a place where we'll always be proud of our children. We are God's carers for these children, whether they are our own biologically or their children around us, the people looking up to us. Everyone you are influencing, you are parenting in some way. Join me next week, Monday, as we continue in this series, Parenting, Maximizing the Holiday Season. And Miracle Ihuoma will be back again with us in the house. And until then, remember, if you can think it, you can be it, and you can have it. And as always, together we win. God bless you. See you next week. Bye for now.